Hey, beautiful peeps. Even though I had plenty of trouble with AIG and Hammy Boy last time, I noticed they took out all my clips of them, and I'm sorry about that. So this time I'm going to try to remedy that. Because, Ken, no matter how much you try to shut me up, I am not going to shut up. So you might as well stop this ridiculous campaign about shutting up everyone who disagrees with you. Now, for those who don't know, the FBI does allow people to respond to videos and use clips of those videos as long as they are critiquing them. And I probably could have future Lisa cutting in. I did find a way to get around the copyright. I am going to speed Hammy Boy up to 1.25, which makes him sound ridiculous, which is actually pretty fitting. But I'm also going to do some other things with the picture. Submitted the claim for review. However, that would have taken too long because I really needed to get it out today because I do try to get my debunks out for my members on Sunday. So I'm going to try a different method. So with that explanation out of the way, please subscribe if you have not already subscribed. If you know you're already going to like this video, please leave a thumbs up. And if not, then leave a thumbs up at the end or thumbs down. So, Hamming Boy, believe me when I tell you, I am going to find some way to bring you down. Because the truth needs to be known that you are a fucking liar. Now let's go.
Evidence number 3, rapidly deposited sediment layers right across the continents. We find that everywhere we look. Look at the Redwall limestone, full of fossils in the Grand Canyon. Yet the same limestone layer is found in the same position over in Pennsylvania, then over in England, and even in the Himalayas. The chalk beds, the White Cliffs of Dover. We find the same chalk beds in Europe, in the Middle East, over into Kazakhstan. We find the same chalk beds with the same fossils in Texas and the Midwestern United States. We find the same chalk beds in Western Australia. The coal beds of Pennsylvania and West Virginia are also found in England and Europe, right across the Ural Mountains. Evidence number.
So that's all you got to say about that? Just, layers are found all over the place? Yeah, probably better off not saying too much about that. Otherwise, you might run the risk of letting your people know you're lying. So I need to mention something I really shouldn't have to mention, especially to you, seeing as how you are a legitimate geologist, even though I don't think you should be. At any rate, if the flood really happened, these layers should be found in the same place all around the world, and they're not. Dude, you really shouldn't be talking about chalk beds, okay? They go totally against your young earth, whatever you want to call it, because it's definitely not a theory. But since you bring up the White Cliffs of Dover, let's talk about the White Cliffs of Dover, huh? The White Cliffs of Dover are about 350 feet tall, and they are visible from France because they are at the narrowest opening of the English Channel between England and the rest of Europe, and they are in Kent, England. Between 100 million and 66 million years ago, that would be in the late Cretaceous, Europe and Great Britain were under a sea, and this sea was inhabited by algae, which had skeletons called coccoliths, which initially floated on top of the sea, but then floated down into the sea and, together with bottom-dwelling organisms, made up the sediment, and it's thought that the coccolithophores accumulated slowly on the ocean bottom, perhaps half a millimeter a year, and then they compressed and compressed and compressed as new layers of coccolithoforms formed and then formed chalk. 350 feet equates to 110 meters divided by half a millimeter a year clearly does not get you to 6 or 7,000 years. Andrew, you know this. You're a fucking geologist.
Evidence number 4. Long transport distance of sediments. The Coconino sandstone in the Grand Canyon. The sand grains are believed to have been eroded and washed from as far north as at least Wyoming. The Navajo sandstone in Zion National Park, those huge white cliffs, the sand grains are believed to have been eroded and washed all the way from the Appalachians right across North America.
Wow, going real deep on those details, I see. But I understand why you're not, because a well-educated audience is the bane of religion, and you can't have that because, you're a grifter, and there's not much else you can do but grift. But you know what? If I didn't know any better, I would actually think that you're cruising for a bruise in here. I mean, after all, bringing up the Coconino sandstone and the White Cliffs of Dover, if you really want people to buy this shit, don't do that. Especially in this day and age where we have this little thing called, the internet, where information is at your fingertips. Of course, don't believe everything you hear or read that's on the internet. That's just dumb. However, people will find out you've been lying to them about this, and then they'll wonder what else you've been lying about. And that makes me super happy because people are going to get out of this shit. So I am going to go into the Coconino sandstones because this idiot had the gall to bring it up. But sediments deposited over long distances. Just think about that a moment. Without even knowing anything about anything, what does that sound like to you? It sounds to me like, a river, and not all rivers are still around.
One looks at the Coconino sandstone, the feature that is most apparent is the prominent cross-bedding, and cross-beds like this are common in sand dunes in modern desert environments. Under some circumstances, cross-beds can be deposited by flowing water as well. However, the form of cross-beds is considerably different than the cross-beds one finds in a desert. And cross-beds formed by flowing water as opposed to wind are common in the geologic record. There are a number of depositional features that can be used to distinguish crossbeds formed by wind in a desert from crossbeds formed by water. One of the most obvious has to do with average angle of repose. That is the angle at which the beds were originally deposited. In a desert, the average is up around 35 degrees, whereas crossbeds formed by water rarely exceed 10 degrees. The average angle of repose, or the dip angle of the crossbeds in the Coconino sandstone, is around 24 degrees.
That was Wildwood Clear. Anyway, that's an oops on both my part and Andy Pandy's part. Just goes to show, how you can't always rely on common sense. So let's do some real research, shall we? Let's start with the easiest thing first. How old is the Coconino sandstone? Well, according to real research, it is 280 million years old, which puts it forming in the Permian period, at which time this area was a sand sea known as an erg. The grains that make up this sandstone are quartz, but that wasn't always the case, because just like just about everything else, the Coconino sandstone started with many minerals. It was just after erosion set in, the quartz remained. So, if you have a brain, that may lead you to wonder, what kind of erosion was it? I know that's what I was thinking. Why couldn't it be water erosion? Why is it wind erosion? Well, that's a very good question, and that's what we're gonna find out by research. These quartz grains are uniform in composition. They are small in sand size, and they are also pretty uniform in size as well. And this leads us to the conclusion that these grains' origin were in blowing dunes because water transports sediment more slowly than does wind, which means less abrasiveness.
Number 5, rapid or no erosion between sediment layers. Again, you think in terms of the Coconino sandstone and the Hermit Shelf, there's a knife edge, flat, featureless boundary between those two rock layers. For mile after mile through the Grand Canyon, yet the geologists claim that there's 10 million years missing of that boundary. What would have happened to the 10 million years of erosion?
Citation fucking needed, Andy Pandy. And no, your fucking book does not count as a citation because at best it's a report of a report of a report of a report.
And we have evidence of huge erosion there, with boulders being picked up from the underlying rock layers indicating rapid erosion.
The Topeka sandstone. Dude, are you just making shit up? Because I looked for it and I couldn't find it on Google Scholar and I couldn't find it on Bing. So, what the fuck? And yeah, I listened to it over and over again and I heard Topeka, and that's what closed captioning on YouTube. But, you know, um, closed captioning isn't always correct. Somebody put it in the comments if you heard something other than Topeka, as in Topeka, Kansas. At any rate, I'm not going to worry about it too much because I can't find it. And I don't trust you to tell me the truth on anything because I caught you in so many fucking lies, Andy Pandy. So, if you want me to take you seriously, you're gonna need some fucking citations on that.
Evidence number 6, we find whole rock layer sequences deposited rapidly in quick succession. Look at the walls of the Grand Canyon, from the peaks at the bottom to the Kaibab limestone at the top, supposed to be representing 300 million years of slow and gradual sedimentary deposition. When the plateau was pushed up, those rock layers were bent and folded, but they were folded without fracturing. They had to be soft if they were bent without fracturing.
So, I found this clip on Pelagia's channel, which features Stephen Bauman, who is a geologist who actually, cares about what's true and what's not. And he explains why you should not Google bent rock. He also explains what you should Google in place of bent rock, because bent rock is not a geological term. It is a young earth creationist made up term, and geologists use a different term.
And if you type bent rock into Google, let's do that. I will show you what I'm talking about. Let's see, bent rock. Bent, that is not a term geologist to use. So if you type that into search, you get some pictures. But what comes up? They're young earth creationist stuff. Canyon Ministries, Answers in Genesis. Okay, there's a place called bent rock, so yeah, that's fine. Bent rock layers, evidence of flood. Young earth creationist stuff comes up. Now if I type in the correct term, deformation of rocks, deform rocks, the stuff comes up that's supposed to come up. Rock deformation. How do we deform rocks? Structural geology. Deformation of rocks. You get the real picture. But that is something the young earth creationists, especially like this guy here, like to do. They like to create terms that geologists don't actually use. That's a tactic, that's a dishonest tactic, but it's common among people trying to sell you a bag of bullshit.
Andy, you are a fucking geologist. You know, actually better than I know, that most rock does not start out as rock. In fact, if I remember correctly, the only rock that starts out as rock is granite. Now, I may be wrong. I am more than happy to be corrected If that is not the case, if there's more rock than just granite that starts out as a rock, please leave it in the comments. Other than that, rock gets softer as it gets warmer. Now, because you showed quote unquote bent rock in your picture, my first inkling as a non geologist, mind you, was that there was an extinct volcano underneath the Grand Canyon. And what do you know? There is. It's called the Parashant's Lava Fields. And you should know this, Andy. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the Parashant's lava fields, mainly because I just found out about them. Thank you for educating me, Andy. I really appreciate it. And I do mean I appreciate it. I enjoy learning new things. But anyway, getting back to the subject, now let's turn back to the picture that you show. You know, Andy, it's not a good idea to show pictures that debunk you while you are trying to lie to your audience because you can clearly see that the quote unquote bent rock is underneath other rock. Come on. And this other rock underneath which this quote unquote bent rock is underneath is not bent, as you can clearly see in your picture. So, Andy Pandy, what is your fucking excuse for that? I know your bread and butter is your sheeple. But I am not one of your brainwashed sheeple. Never have been, and thank goodness I never will be now. So you have to explain why there is not bent rock on top of bent rock, and you have not done that.
That means that they could only have just have been deposited. But that means the 300 million years never happened. All those rock layers had to be rapidly deposited in quick succession during the flood year. So you see, when you ask the right question, you get the right answers. Who are we going to believe? The scientists who weren't there, who don't know everything and sometimes make mistakes? Or the Word of God who was there, who saw what happened and told us what happened during the flood? And what we see in God's world agrees with what we read in God's Word.
I think you need new glasses, Andy Pandy. Your own picture, which you yourself picked out, at least I'm assuming you picked out, shows that not all the rock layers are quote unquote bent. And of course, as we saw Steve Bauman explain, that is the wrong word. Why do you people have to make up words? Let me think. Could it be that maybe if you used the correct geological terms, people would find out you're lying? At any rate, my eyes are pretty bad, Andy Pandy. And let me tell you something. Even I can see that there is rock above the deformed rock. What is your explanation for that? Hmm? Oh, and one more thing. I know you're preaching to the choir, but I'm not part of your choir, and I'm not part of your sheeple either. You have to prove that your God was there at the beginning, and you have not even tried to prove that. How do you know there is a God? Or even that it's your God? Come on, do better. Well, friends, I don't want to induce a concussion or a brain aneurysm due to face palms, so I think that's enough stupid for today. You know, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe. Um, follow me on Twitter. For some reason, I had to get another Twitter account, so if you're already following me, please make sure that you are following me on my new account, link in the description, instead of my old account. So, yeah. We're getting invaded by the stupid over here in America. Don't know about anywhere else in the world, but definitely here in America. You know, Australia, if you want Ken Ham back, I'll gladly hand him over to you. You know, I can't deport him. I can't do anything. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, maybe together we can get him to go back to Australia. Then you guys can deal with him. Don't forget to hit the like button. And if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. If you are subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed because for some reason YouTube loves to unsubscribe people. And I will talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. I recently set up a Patreon account. You can follow me over there. I will start releasing patron-only content as soon as I get probably about 10 people. So, yeah, follow me over there only if you are in a financially stable position. If you like what I do, please consider becoming a member of this channel. You can become a member for as low as 99 cents a month. You get custom emojis and you get these debunks early. Well, friends, until next time, I bid you adieu, and may you always have stupid to entertain you. Goodbye.